She showed up at my door with my eyes and a name from 25 years ago. I think you're my father. And just like that, the perfect life I built started to fall apart. They say every man has a secret he hopes never sees daylight. I thought mine was buried deep enough to stay that way, until the knock at the door came. She was young, calm, her eyes a mirror of my own. And with one sentence, she shattered everything I thought I'd buried 25 years ago. My name is Sophia, and I think you're my father. I built a life most men only dream of. A sprawling estate outside Connecticut, a wife with a pedigree and an iron will, 3 accomplished children, and enough money to make problems vanish, at least the ones you can write checks for. That morning was like any other. I was in the study, going over numbers with a bourbon in one hand and the Wall Street Journal in the other, when Eleanor called out. "Richard," she said, her voice tight. "There's someone here." I looked up. The way she said it, clipped, unsure, was rare for her. Eleanor doesn't get rattled. I stepped into the foyer, and there she was. Late 20s, early 30s maybe. Light brown hair tucked neatly behind her ears. Nervous but standing tall. Her eyes, though. Something about her eyes. They held something familiar, something that reached back decades. "I'm sorry to drop in unannounced," she said, "but I think you might be my father." The room went still. Eleanor's face turned to stone. My heart? It didn't know whether to stop or sprint. I managed, "What's your name?" "Sophia. Sophia Lane." My mother was Caroline Lane. That name, it hit me like a sucker punch to the gut. 25 years ago, the summer before I proposed to Eleanor, I spent 3 months in Cape Cod overseeing a new real estate venture. That's where I met Caroline. Young, wild, heartbreakingly beautiful. It was supposed to be a fling, turned into something deeper. She vanished without a word before summer ended. I tried calling, writing, nothing. I never knew why she left. I never knew she was pregnant. Eleanor's voice cut through the fog. "This is absurd. You expect us to believe this?" "I have no expectations," Sophia said. "I'm not here for money. My mother passed 2 months ago. Before she died, she told me the truth. I just wanted to see who he was. That's what wrecked me the most. She hadn't come with a lawyer. No demands. Just a quiet ache and the courage to face a stranger who should have never been one. Daniel, our oldest, showed up next. He sized her up like she was a threat to be neutralized. Emily came later, barefoot and skeptical but intrigued. Michael stood halfway up the stairs, hands gripping the rail, watching everything unravel. I didn't say much that day. Couldn't. Eleanor was livid. She called her lawyer within an hour. Daniel insisted on a DNA test. I agreed, numb. Sophia nodded. "I'll do whatever you need. I'm not trying to ruin anyone's life." Then she left, just like that. And for the first time in years, I felt like the ground under my feet wasn't mine anymore. 3 weeks. That's how long it took for the results to come in. 3 weeks of cold silence from Eleanor, side eyes from Daniel, and questions I couldn't answer echoing in my own damn head. I kept thinking maybe it was a mistake. Maybe Sophia was wrong. Maybe Caroline lied. But deep down I already knew. There was a look in Sophia's eyes, something unshakably familiar. The same quiet intensity one used to see in the mirror when I was her age. The day the envelope arrived, I sat alone in the study. The rest of the family was out, or at least they pretended to be. Truth was, no one wanted to be around when the bomb dropped. I didn't open it right away. I just sat there, holding it. That envelope didn't just carry test results. It carried a reckoning. A whole other life I never claimed, never protected, never even looked for. When I finally tore it open, the words were clear. Probability of paternity, 99.99%. I don't remember much after that. My fingers went numb. My chest felt like it was caving in. All I could do was stare at those numbers over and over, like they'd change if I blinked long enough. The next day, I told Eleanor. She didn't cry. Eleanor doesn't do tears. What she does is ice. Cold, measured, soul-cutting silence. "You're not going to bring her into this family," she said finally. "You've already done enough. It's not about bringing her in, I said. She's already part of it. We just didn't know. She stared at me like I'd grown two heads. You knew, Richard. You paid that woman off. That caught me off guard. What are you talking about? She scoffed. I had someone look into her. I should have known. Eleanor's loyalty doesn't bend easily. But when she thinks her family's reputation is on the line, she goes full defense mode. She had her own investigator, dug into Sophia's past, found out more than I ever knew. She grew up in foster homes, Eleanor said flatly. Her mother was an addict, in and out of rehab. That girl didn't have a chance. My mouth went dry. Foster care? Caroline had always been a little reckless, sure, but she was kind-hearted. Sweet? I never imagined. She told you I paid her to disappear? I asked. No, Eleanor said, eyeing me. But maybe you should ask yourself why she never came back. People don't just walk away pregnant unless they have a reason. The words stuck with me. Because she was right, at least about that. Maybe I didn't know Caroline was pregnant, but there was a reason she vanished so suddenly. And deep down, maybe part of me hadn't looked hard enough. Maybe because I didn't want to complicate the life I was building with Eleanor. The marriage. The family. The clean narrative. Later that week, I met Sophia at a cafe outside the city. She looked tired, guarded, but she showed up. I got the results, I told her. She nodded slowly, not even flinching. I figured. I owe you an apology. She looked at me for a long moment, then said, you don't owe me anything. I didn't come for a payout. I just wanted to know. There was something in her voice, exhaustion mixed with resolve. I admired it. Resented it too, maybe, because it meant she didn't need me. Not like she should have. My mom didn't tell me until she was dying, Sophia said. She said you were kind. That you didn't know. She said I deserved to meet you before she was gone. I tried to speak, but nothing came out. She just smiled, small, tight-lipped, and heartbreaking. I'm not here to ruin your family, she said. But I'm not going to beg to be a part of it either. She stood up and slipped her bag over her shoulder. I just wanted to meet the man she couldn't forget. Then she walked out. And I sat there, heart in my throat, knowing I'd failed them both, Sophia and Caroline, in more ways than I could count. You think you've seen your family at its worst, through arguments, slammed doors, and the silent treatment that lasts for weeks. But trust me, nothing tests the true fabric of a family like the arrival of a stranger who shares your blood. After the DNA results were confirmed, I called a family meeting. It felt juvenile, like I was running some kind of corporation instead of a home, but I didn't know any other way to bring us all together. And truthfully, I was afraid if I didn't force it, this thing would keep festering like an open wound. We gathered in the sunroom, me, Eleanor, and the kids, Daniel, Emily, and Michael. Daniel, my eldest, showed up late, already fuming. He didn't even sit. Just stood by the wall, arms crossed like a security guard who didn't trust the people in the room. So, he said, eyes locked on me. She's yours. I nodded. She is. He scoffed and muttered something under his breath. What was that? I asked. I said, how convenient, he snapped. She pops up out of nowhere, right when your estate plan is getting finalized, and suddenly she's family? Give me a break. Eleanor didn't say a word. She just sat stiffly, her fingers clenched in her lap like she was holding onto some imaginary dignity. Emily, on the other hand, leaned forward. What's she like? Daniel glared at her. Why does that matter? Because she's our sister, she said simply. Whether you like it or not. Daniel laughed bitterly. No. She's a mistake Dad made 25 years ago, and she's here now for one reason, money. That's not true, I cut in. She didn't even ask for anything. Oh, come on, Dad, Daniel barked. That's how the game works. Play the quiet, humble card. Get you to feel guilty. Next thing you know, she's got a key to the house and a slice of the trust fund. Emily rolled her eyes. Maybe she just wants to know where she came from. You ever think of that? Michael sat between them, looking like he wanted to disappear into the couch. Can we not tear each other apart over this? He glanced at me, then at Eleanor. She didn't grow up with us. That's not her fault. But we can't pretend this doesn't change things. Eleanor finally spoke. No. It doesn't change anything. We're this family. Sophia is an outsider. I turned to her. You're wrong. She's my daughter. You had an affair, she hissed. And now we're all supposed to welcome the result of your mistake with open arms? It wasn't an affair, I said, trying to stay calm. We weren't even engaged back then. She looked away, biting her tongue so hard I thought it might draw blood. Emily crossed her legs, still watching me carefully. I want to meet her. Daniel groaned. Of course you do. Don't, she snapped. Don't act like you speak for everyone. Fine, Daniel said, standing. You want to play sister-sister with a complete stranger? Go ahead. But I'm not going to sit back and watch her get her hands on what belongs to us. Us. Emily shot back. You mean you, Daniel? He didn't respond. Just walked out the door, slamming it behind him. Michael looked down, fiddling with the ring on his finger. I don't know what to think. I need time. And with that, the meeting dissolved. That night, I sat in my study alone. The house felt bigger than usual. Emptier. Like everyone had taken a step back, away from each other, away from me. I looked at the family portrait hanging over the fireplace. All 5 of us smiling in front of the lake. A picture-perfect lie. The next morning, Emily called me. I reached out to her, she said. Sophia, we're meeting for coffee this weekend. I didn't know how to respond. She's nervous, Emily added. But she's not what you think, Dad. She's got your calm. Your voice even. It's strange. I swallowed the lump rising in my throat. What if Daniel's right? I asked quietly. What if she's better off without us? There was a pause. Maybe, Emily said. But that's not your decision to make anymore. She's here. You don't get to run from this. And just like that, I realized this wasn't just about claiming a daughter. It was about facing the parts of myself I had buried long ago. The guilt, the fear, the cowardice. Sophia didn't just bring the truth to our doorstep. She brought the mirror too. The thing about secrets is they never stay buried forever. You can push them down, pretend they never existed, build a whole life on top of them, but sooner or later, they claw their way back up. And when they do, they don't knock politely. They kick the damn door in. It started with a call from Daniel. I hadn't spoken to him since that heated family meeting, so when his name popped up on my phone, I braced myself. You might want to sit down, he said, voice cold. Go ahead, I replied, already sitting behind my desk. I hired a private investigator. Of course he did. Daniel was never one to trust anyone unless they were vetted, stamped, and signed off in triplicate. I thought I told you not to go behind my back on this, I said, jaw tight. You also told us she came out of nowhere, Dad. That you didn't know she existed. Funny thing is, that's not what the PI found. My stomach dropped. What are you talking about? Daniel didn't answer right away. I heard papers shuffling, then his voice again calm, surgical. There's a paper trail. Small payments. Monthly. From an anonymous LLC tied to one of your old shell companies, Westgrove Holdings. I froze. That company's been inactive for years, I said. Not back then. These payments started about 25 years ago and stopped roughly a year after Sophia would have been born. I didn't say anything. What could I say? Daniel kept going. The money was going to a woman named Caroline Lane. Her last known address matches one of the homes Sophia lived in with her. I closed my eyes. You knew, he said. You knew she was pregnant. You paid her to go away. The air in the room turned heavy like it was pressing down on me from all sides. It's not what you think, I managed. Oh, really? Because it sounds exactly like what I think. I didn't have a defense. Just the truth, and that truth had been rotting inside me for decades. I didn't know for sure, I said. She sent a letter. Said she was late. Said it might be mine. I panicked. You sent her money. I was scared, Daniel. I was about to propose to your mother. My entire future was mapped out. And Caroline, she didn't ask for anything, not really. Just help. So you paid her to disappear, he said, voice trembling now. And you told none of us. I couldn't even deny it. She never confirmed it, I whispered. I never saw her again after that. And you chose not to look, he snapped. You made that decision. You could have found her. You could have demanded the truth. You could have been a father. The line went quiet. I thought maybe he'd hung up. Then, does Sophia know? No, I said. Not yet. You'd better tell her before I do. The call ended. And just like that, every illusion I'd clung to crumbled. That evening, Eleanor confronted me. She'd overheard part of the call. She always did have a talent for showing up at the worst moments. You really did it, she said. You paid her off. I nodded slowly. You lied to me, she whispered. You lied to all of us. I couldn't meet her eyes. She walked out of the room without another word. The next day, I asked Sophia to meet me at the same cafe. I sat across from her, feeling about 2 inches tall. There's something I need to tell you, I said. She tilted her head, wary. Okay. I told her everything. The letter. The payments. The silence. My fear. When I finished, she didn't say a word. Just stared at me like she was trying to decide whether to cry or get up and leave. I didn't know for sure, I said uselessly. But I didn't try hard enough. And I'm sorry. She let out a breath that sounded more like a sigh than anything else. Then she looked out the window. My mom never told me that part, she said. She always said you were kind. that you had no idea. She wanted to protect you from the truth, I said. Because the truth was that I was a coward. She nodded slowly. Yeah, I figured that out already. Her words weren't cruel. They weren't even angry, but they cut me deeper than any yelling ever could. I don't know what you want from me, Richard, she said. I really don't. I came here to see a man, maybe get some closure. But this, she shook her head. I'm not here to punish you, but I'm not going to pretend either. You don't get to skip to the good part. I nodded, swallowing hard. I understand. She stood up. I'm not asking for a place at the table, she said. But don't lie to yourself thinking you invited me to it either. And just like that, she walked out again. Not angry, not bitter, just done. And I couldn't blame her. There's a moment in every man's life when he realizes the things he thought were unbreakable already shattered a long time ago. I used to think our family was made of strong stuff, legacy, loyalty, blood. But I was wrong. We weren't glass, we were ice. And now the cracks were spreading faster than I could contain them. After I told Sophia the truth about the payments, word got around faster than I expected. Whether it was Daniel opening his mouth or Eleanor venting her rage to someone who wasn't me, I don't know. But the news spread and the fallout came hard. First, Eleanor. She stopped wearing her ring. I noticed it one morning while she was reading at the kitchen table. Left hand bare, coffee untouched, a silence colder than the winter light pouring through the windows. You're not even going to say anything? I asked. She looked up from the paper like I was a stranger who'd interrupted her morning. What's left to say, Richard? That I married a man who kept a daughter hidden for 25 years? Who didn't have the decency to tell me he sent hush money to her mother while building a life with me? I didn't know for sure, I said again, tired of my own excuses. Exactly, she said, folding the paper. You didn't want to know. You were too busy playing the perfect husband and father while someone else was struggling to raise your child alone. And now you expect me to what? Forgive and forget. I expect you to be honest about what this really is, I said. You're not angry because of the lie. You're angry because the world might find out. Her face stiffened. It hit a nerve. This family has a name, she said. A reputation. What do you think the people at the club will say? At the foundation board? Do you think Emily's art gallery backers will appreciate this kind of drama? Or Michael's law firm? This isn't about the damn country club, I snapped. She stood up slowly, every movement calculated. No, Richard. It's about everything you pretended to be while hiding what you really are. She walked out. That afternoon, Emily showed up at my office. I had coffee with Sophia, she said, skipping any kind of small talk. She's real. And she's hurt. I leaned back, rubbing my eyes. I know. I told her everything. You think that's enough? Emily asked, folding her arms. You think owning it now makes up for all the years she grew up in the system? While we were living in a mansion and being chauffeured to private schools. I can't change the past. No. But you can stop lying to yourself about it. She stared at me, those sharp green eyes of hers burning like Eleanor's used to before all the years dulled them. I like her, Emily said after a moment. More than I like Daniel right now, honestly. Daniel's angry, I said. He feels like someone's coming for what's his. She scoffed. Daniel feels threatened because he's always needed to be the center of this family. Sophia threatens that. Then, as if on cue, my phone buzzed. Daniel. You might want to answer that, Emily said, walking toward the door. He's planning something. When I picked up, I barely got a word in. I want her gone, Daniel said. This is going to tear everything apart. It already has. Then fix it. Because if you don't, I will. What does that mean? He paused, then said, You'll find out. The call ended. That night, I came home to find Michael waiting in my study. He looked like a ghost of himself. Tie loose, bags under his eyes. Daniel told me he's contesting the trust, Michael said. He's getting lawyers involved. I closed the door, the weight of it hitting me like a judge's gavel. I figured as much, I said. He's claiming fraud, that the inheritance is being diluted by someone with no legal standing. Sophia is legally my daughter, I said. The DNA test proves that. And you think that matters to Daniel? Or to Eleanor? They don't care about truth. They care about control. Michael looked down at his hands. I don't want to pick sides, he said. But it's starting to feel like we're not a family anymore. Just a battlefield. I nodded. We've been a battlefield for a long time. We just wore nicer clothes. He stood to leave, then stopped at the door. She called me once, he said. Sophia. A few days ago. She asked about our mom. What she was like. What kind of father you were. And you know what I told her? I didn't answer. I told her you were a good man who made bad choices. He didn't wait for a reply. He just left. That night, I stared at myself in the bathroom mirror, really looked into the tired eyes, the creased skin, the man I'd become. I used to think power meant control. Legacy. Money. But now I saw it clearer than ever. Power is what you do with the truth once it comes out. And mine? It had just detonated in the middle of my family. It was raining hard the night she came back, one of those unrelenting spring storms that rattles windows and soaks the ground so deep it feels like the world itself is weeping. I was in the den, the fire crackling low, nursing a drink I hadn't earned when I heard the knock. Not a polite tap. A steady, firm knock, like someone who knew exactly why they were here and didn't plan to leave without being heard. I opened the door and there she was, Sophia. Soaked to the bone, arms wrapped around herself, eyes colder than the wind behind her. I won't stay long, she said. I stepped aside anyway. Come in. She hesitated, then walked past me, dripping water on the hardwood floors Eleanor used to obsess over. I grabbed a towel from the hall closet and handed it to her. She took it without thanks. I heard, she said. About Daniel. About the trust. The PI. All of it. I nodded slowly. I was going to call you. No, she said. You weren't. She was right. I'd been avoiding it. Avoiding her. Not because I didn't care, because I cared too much. Because every time I looked at her, I saw 25 years of silence and cowardice staring back. Michael told me what's happening, she continued. That there's talk of contesting your estate. That Daniel thinks I'm some kind of gold-digging parasite trying to take what doesn't belong to me. Her voice didn't shake, but it had a sharp edge like glass freshly broken. I'm sorry, I said. She stared at me like she didn't believe a word. I didn't ask for a dime, Richard. I never did. But your family, your real family, they've treated me like I'm a threat. Like I'm poison. They're scared, I said. They think love is something that runs out if you give too much of it away. That's not love, she said flatly. That's power. She paced the room slowly, taking in the shelves of dusty books, the framed family photos she wasn't in. Never would be. I came back because I needed to say something, she said, turning to face me. And I wanted to say it here. Where you built your life. Where you shut me out. My chest tightened. I don't forgive you, she said. Not yet. Maybe not ever. I nodded. I deserve that. But I understand now. That caught me off guard. You do. She gave a half nod. You were a coward. You took the easy road. You buried the truth and tried to move on. But you're not the first man to do that. And you won't be the last. Her eyes softened, just barely. My mom, she never stopped loving you. Even when she was broke or sick or too tired to keep going. She still believed you were a good man who just got scared. I had no words. None that would have mattered. I didn't come here to fight, she said. Or to ask for anything. I just came to close the door properly. I swallowed hard. Does that mean goodbye? Not necessarily, she said. But it means I won't wait around for you to decide if I'm worth claiming. She stepped toward the door, then paused. Emily's the only one who's actually treated me like a sister. Michael tries, but he's stuck in the middle. Daniel, well, you already know. She looked back at me one last time. Whatever you decide next, do it for you. Not for guilt. Not for show. Just, don't lie to yourself anymore. Then she opened the door and walked back into the rain. I stood there long after she left, watching the storm swallow her up, the thunder rolling like a verdict I couldn't outrun. And for the first time since this whole mess began, I didn't feel angry or ashamed or lost. I just felt old. Like a man waking up in the rubble of a house he built too fast, too proud, and too blind to notice the cracks beneath his feet. Some betrayals come with fireworks. Others arrive quiet, slow, like a leak in the ceiling you don't notice until the roof caves in. Daniel's betrayal wasn't loud. But it was the one that left the deepest mark. It happened the same week Sophia walked away in the rain. I was in the middle of drafting a letter, something I'd planned to send her, not to fix anything, just to tell her things I couldn't say out loud when my attorney called. "Richard," he said, his voice tight, "I thought you should hear it from me. Daniel filed a motion this morning." I already knew what was coming. Still, hearing it spoken aloud hit me like a body blow. "He's contesting the validity of your estate plan. Claiming undue influence." Asserting Sophia was inserted under emotional duress. "He what?" I said, my voice low. "There's more. He's seeking an emergency injunction. Wants your current holdings frozen until the case is resolved. He's trying to prove you're mentally compromised. Says you're being manipulated." I didn't respond. My hand gripped the pen until it snapped in half. "Do you want to respond publicly?" the lawyer asked. "We can issue a statement. Push back on his claims." "No," I said. "Not yet." I hung up, walked to the bar, and poured a drink I didn't even want. A few hours later, Daniel showed up at the house like he hadn't just set fire to everything. Walked right into my study like it still belonged to him. "Before you start," he said, "just know this wasn't personal. It's business." I looked at him. My son. My firstborn. The kid I taught how to ride a bike. The man I once thought would take over everything I'd built. "Business?" I repeated. He nodded. "You're not thinking clearly. Sophia's got you twisted up. This is protection of your legacy, our name. Our family. Our family." I echoed, my voice quieter now. "You mean your family?" He shrugged. "I did what I had to." "No, Daniel," I said, stepping toward him. "You did what you wanted to. Because you couldn't stand that the world doesn't revolve around you anymore. That someone else, someone who shares my blood, deserves anything. She doesn't belong here," he snapped. "She didn't grow up in this house with this name, with our sacrifices. She didn't grow up with anything," I cut in. "Because of me." He faltered. "She had nothing," I said. "Foster homes. A mother barely holding it together. And through all of it, she didn't ask for a damn thing. Not a penny. She just wanted to meet me." "You want to talk about sacrifice?" "She lived it." He looked away. "You've had everything," I continued. "Every opportunity. Every door opened. And now, the first time I try to do something right for someone I wronged, you treat it like a threat." "I'm protecting what's ours," he said. But the conviction was starting to slip. "No," I said. "You're protecting your ego." We stood there in silence. "I talked to the lawyers," I said finally. "I've already amended the trust. Sophia will get a share. So will Michael. So will Emily." He narrowed his eyes. "And me. You'll get your portion," I said. "But if this lawsuit continues, I'm rewriting the entire document. You'll be cut out. Entirely." His face went pale. "You wouldn't." "I would," I said calmly. "Because I finally see what this has turned you into. And I won't reward betrayal." He stood there, stunned, like the floor had shifted beneath him. Then, with one last look somewhere between fury and disbelief, he walked out. That night, I got a text from Emily. "He's unraveling." He called me furious. Tried to get Michael to take his side too. "What's going on, Dad?" I didn't answer. Not yet. Instead, I pulled out the letter I'd started writing to Sophia. I rewrote the whole thing. This time, it wasn't about guilt or regret. It was a promise. A promise that I was done hiding. That I would stand for her even if it meant standing against my own son. You can't pick your blood, but you can choose who you bleed for. That was the thought running through my head the morning everything finally came to a head. The storm Daniel started had rolled through every corner of the family by then. Eleanor was barely speaking to me. Michael had gone radio silent, and Emily, well, she was trying to keep everyone from sinking, but even she was running out of patience. I called them all to the house. One last time. No lawyers. No statements. No butlers. Just the 6 of us, me, Eleanor, Daniel, Emily, Michael, and Sophia. It was Emily who insisted Sophia be there. "If this is about her," she said, "then she deserves a seat at the table." We met in the dining room. Not because it was warm or inviting, frankly, it hadn't felt like home in years, but because it was the only room long enough to hold the weight of all that history. All that silence. Sophia sat at one end. Daniel at the other. I stood in the middle. I didn't give a speech. I didn't rehearse a monologue. I just spoke like a man who had run out of lies to live behind. "I failed you," I said to Sophia first. "And for a long time I let my fear decide what kind of man I'd be. What kind of father. That ends now." She didn't speak. She didn't need to. The look in her eyes told me she'd heard those words before from other men in other forms. What mattered wasn't what I said. It was what I chose to do next. I turned to Daniel. He was stiff, jaw locked, arms folded like a man trying to hold back a flood. "You betrayed this family in the name of protecting it," I said. "But the truth is, it wasn't about family. It was about control. About entitlement. You gave her everything, he said quietly. And gave the rest of us shame. I gave her the chance you were born into, I said. You just couldn't stand that she didn't have to fight for it. I have fought, Daniel snapped. I've worked my entire life to be the son you could be proud of. Then why are you trying to destroy the one thing left worth protecting? I asked. The truth. He looked away. I took a breath and turned to Eleanor. I know I broke something between us, I said. And I don't expect to fix it with words. But you once told me your family name mattered more than anything. That legacy had to be preserved. She didn't move. Well, this is our legacy now, I continued. Messy. Flawed. Human. If we hide from it, then we've already lost everything that ever mattered. Michael finally spoke, his voice soft. I just want peace. For all of us. Emily nodded. Then maybe it's time we stop choosing sides and start choosing each other. Silence fell. Then Sophia stood up. Every eye in the room turned to her. I didn't come to be part of your legacy, she said. I came to understand where I came from. But standing here, I realized something. She looked at me. You're just people. Complicated, broken people. And I don't need a father to validate my worth. Her words cut deep, but not in the way Daniel's had. Hers carried no venom. Just truth. She looked at Emily, then Michael. I don't know what kind of future we'll have. If we'll even have one. But I'm done being the outsider. I don't want a place at your table. She stepped forward. I want to build a new one. And then something unexpected happened. Michael stood, walked over, and hugged her. Emily followed. Daniel didn't move. He stared at them like he was watching something he couldn't understand. Or maybe couldn't accept. He left without a word. I didn't stop him. Later that night, the four of us, me, Sophia, Emily, and Michael, sat in the kitchen. Not the dining room. Not the study. Just the kitchen. Bowls of soup, glasses of wine, quiet laughter. It didn't look like a family reunion. It looked like a beginning. And maybe that's all a man like me could hope for. Not forgiveness. Not perfection. Just the chance to stop running. And start choosing who I show up for. That night, I wrote a new letter. Not to Sophia. To myself. Family isn't defined by who you're born to. It's defined by who stays when it hurts. Who tells the truth. And who holds your hand while you learn to live with it. And for the first time in a long time, I slept without ghosts.